According to Dr. Laurel Steinberg, a psychiatrist and professor of psychology at the Columbia University on adolescents being in a fandom group, belonging to a fandom group helps adolescents connect to each other and other like-minded youths on social media throughout the year, as well as at concert events. Feeling like you're part of a group can help one identify his or her identity and give a sense of purpose to what might be an otherwise routine lifestyle. A fandom is the state of being a fan of something. As being part of multiple fandoms and extensively researching this topic, I can attest to the validity of these statements. These facts can help anybody who feels a little out of place in their life find some place where they feel like they can belong. As I said, being in a fandom can help young people make meaningful connections with each other. And it can help them change a lot, which mostly for better, but sometimes change can be bad. First, I want to talk about how fandoms can help people connect. Being part of a fandom helps change your life in many ways. Connecting with people in a fandom makes these changes. Some people who go to meetups for celebrities or for YouTube stars, where they go and meet their fans, when they go there, they often interact with other fans at the meetup, and they, liking the same person, have a lot to connect with. So they can sometimes become really good friends just from meeting at one place and starting to talk. Sometimes, in special cases, you can even meet your spouse in some of these situations. You really hit it off, and then you end up being married. An example of this on the YouTube show Game Grumps, they often talk about how they get a bunch of emails from fans thanking them for making the show because that's how they met their group of friends or even their spouse. A while ago, one of the hosts of this show shared a story about the depression he went through earlier in his life and how that changed him as a person and really helped him get on track. After he shared the story, many people wrote into the show thanking him for sharing that story because they felt like that helped them with the problems they're going through as well. Another change that can be made is you can make a living off of being in a fandom. Kids from the early and late 90s remember watching shows like Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z. And some of these kids who watched them grew up to make comedy parody versions of these shows called abridges. The most popular of these abridges is a group called Team 4-Star on YouTube who make Dragon Ball Z abridges. After almost a decade of their production, they have 3 million subscribers on YouTube, millions of hits on all their videos, and some of them have even got professional voice acting jobs because of the quality of their show and its popularity. This is an example of how fandoms can bring out the worst in people. Change and opinions of others can be good or bad, depending on the situation, but a lot of people can't accept change. Some people online are rude and aggressive to people who want to share their opinions or want to change something. In 2015, a show came out on Cartoon Network called Steven Universe, and this gained a pretty big following. This gained a big fandom. And later that year, the creators of the show created a Tumblr page for all the fans to connect with each other and the creators of the show. They could share ideas and drawings of the characters. Unfortunately, many of these fans grew angry at other fans for drawing their own versions of these characters that were too different according to them. A lot of these arguments eventually got really heated, and some of them even led to threats of suicide and hate threats. Eventually, these fans were so angry they even turned on the creators of the show and eventually started giving them these threats and comments. And this led many fans and even some of the creators to leave the show altogether. Along with this, sometimes change can divide a fandom in heated debate. The release of the Legend of Zelda game, Ocarina of Time, in 1998 was the first 3D Legend of Zelda game. With the jump from 2D to 3D, a lot of fans were really excited to see the game change, but a lot of them were also not so thrilled to see the format of it change. And this led to heated discussions amongst the community, and a lot of people kind of split from the main part to make their own little piece of the community, where they only like the 2D games, or they only like the 3D games. So while change can bring out the worst in people, change also sometimes brings out much needed help to continue forward and progress. Yeah, so with change, a lot of times people don't like it at first, but they'll learn eventually that it's for the best. The Final Fantasy series, when it first started, the reason it was called Final Fantasy was because the creator of the game, that was going to be his last game, because his previous installments weren't doing well enough for him to continue. So this was going to be the end of his career. But after making the game, he made enough changes that people really liked it, and it picked up as a series. So it now has over 15 installments and dozens of spin-offs, and he's a very successful man. So, and finally, is a recap of all of my points. In conclusion, being in a fandom can be life-changing. You can find a lifelong friend or partner. Change can also sometimes bring out the bad sides of people, arguments and hate. But overall, change is necessary for progress. Just remember that being part of a group can give a mundane, routine life much needed change. Thank you.
All right, Joshua, what did you think?
Never really knew a lot about fandom, so that was kind of beneficial for me. Talked about like how it benefits you, right? How fandoms could like benefit you, meeting people, like you said, and you could learn a lot more stuff about it. And I like to tell you, like you backed up your points pretty good too, and but you were using visual aids and just kind of help out. That's basically it.
I thought I had less time than I actually did.
That was, yeah, pretty good time.
Okay, well, let's start with the good stuff, because there are several things that I think are pretty solid about what you're doing. I liked your quote at the beginning as an attention device. I thought that worked really well. Identifying your topic as fandom. I like the definition that you use of fandom as a transition to your purpose statement. I do think your purpose statement needs to be more specific. It gets buried in with this whole definition, but like I said, I thought that the start of the speech was pretty solid. And I like the justification that's included with that original quote. So that's a good reason to be talking about the subject. On the preview, it's less clear than it should be what the supporting points are. In fact, a couple of them sound like you're wondering yourself whether or not this is actually going to be a supporting point in the speech. So I think your structure needs to be a little more clearly identifiable at the beginning of the presentation. A couple of other things that I think are pretty good. I like your reference to the supporting material. You talk about fan letters that are being written to one site. You've got a story about people turning on one fan group that they liked because there were differences there. You made a reference to all of the hate that showed up on fan page on Tumblr concerning the changes in the drawings that people are using, all that sort of stuff. So I think there's some content here. So there's some examples. You got a couple of good illustrations. The stories could use maybe a little bit of detail here and there. And just as a couple of examples, when you talk about fan meetups and friendships that could happen as a result of that, well, why aren't we getting one of those stories or a couple of those stories? When you talked about, for instance, the marriage kind of thing, I like that idea. Do you have the names of some people that have actually done this kind of thing? That would have been a good thing to add into the material as well. All right, let's move to the elephant in the room, which you can't see because there were no visuals to see it with. This is one of those things I'm going, well, why didn't he have that? Why didn't he have that? All the stuff that, there are so many things that are jumping out at me right now that I'm going, this is not going to be that complicated. I'm not asking you to give me an explanation. I'm just going to tell you what things I think. Just watching your speech, I was wondering, here's something that would have worked. So you mentioned the fan marriages, for instance.
Yeah.
Where's the picture of Han and Leia getting married at some wedding? Because I guarantee you, if you search that on Google Images, you're going to find some fan group where they've had a Star Wars wedding, and there they are getting married. And there's there's a visual image for you. You talk about all the Tumblr hate that goes on, and there's a thread of all the negative things that people said, and it's about the art that they were drawing. Let's see some of those examples. Here's what the original artwork was like on this website, and here's what some of the fan art was, and and you see the hate pouring out here because somebody made the head of the character too big, or they didn't give it a pointy enough nose, or something like that. And look at the language that they're using in all this. You should die, you gravy-sucking pig. Whatever. Let's make it an interesting story and give us some visuals that go along with that. You mentioned a web series, and I wrote the name. It's like Steven University, or what is it? Steven Universe. What the hell is that? I have no idea. I've never been there. I don't know. If it's a web-based series, I'm assuming that there are visuals that go with it. Give me a screenshot of a video, that shows me what goes on this. Is it an animated thing? Is it people acting out characters? Is it people sitting behind a desk at a panel and having a discussion? Is it just random artwork? I don't know. I have no clue what's going on there. And that's one of those things that would have been easy to, let's just go to the website and grab an image and use that in that point. And I'm not telling you anything you don't know. You have nothing. And so this would be one of those things, like if you were stuck for ideas, you should have come and talked to somebody. I blame the people in your group. It's their fault. They should have been giving you suggestions about this. All right, you're the one who's going to pay the penalty, but it's the other 3 people in your group who didn't say, oh, here's a good idea, why don't you do this, or why don't you do this, why don't you do this? You can beat them later. I'm joking, by the way. I don't really hit them, but you should be a little bit frustrated because your group should have helped you out a little bit on this. All right.